Hey, Talkhouse listeners, it's Josh Modell. Instead of a new episode this week, I want to drop another show from the Talkhouse Podcast Network in your feed that I think you're going to like. It's a new podcast called Music Person, and it's hosted by Dylan Tupper Rupert. She's already got a handful of great episodes under her belt with guests like Molly Birch and Merce Lemon. And you can find Music Person wherever you find podcasts, so please subscribe after checking out this episode featuring a conversation between Dylan and Carly Hartzman of Wednesday. They talk about, and I'm quoting here, being an introverted observer, writer, girl type, complicated feelings about Los Angeles, and Carly's breakup with partner and bandmate MJ Lenderman. Enjoy!
Hello, people. I am Dylan Tupper Rupert, and this is my new show, Music Person, and it's very cool that you are here. Music Person is my project to capture portraits of people who are living the music life today. And I'm incredibly excited that my first music person is Carly Hartzman of the band Wednesday. So to catch you up a little bit, Carly formed Wednesday in Asheville, North Carolina. She now lives a few hours away in Greensboro. And Wednesday really broke through with their 2021 record, Twin Plagues. But I feel like their 2023 album, Rat Saw God, kind of sealed the deal on Wednesday being like a generational indie rock band. They have a new record coming out this fall, and it's called Bleeds. So maybe you know this, maybe you don't, but up until this year, Carly was dating Wednesday's guitar player, Jake, and sort of like in tandem with Wednesday's meteoric rise, his own solo project, MJ Lenderman, basically just like exploded. And he's touring around the world nonstop, and thus he's no longer touring with Wednesday. It was announced earlier this year. So we get all into this in our talk. Carly is, I think, one of the best young songwriters that we have. And for me personally, she's kind of been like a decoder ring for a certain kind of experience of the South. Like I remember a few years ago, I was taking my best friend Olivia on a road trip through Tennessee because it was her bachelorette party and we were going to Dollywood. Bitch, it was perfect. Of course, I planned the perfect one. And it was the first time that we had been in that part of the South. It was definitely the first time either of us had been in like Southern Appalachia. So we came back to Nashville at the end of the road trip, and I was like, oh my God, this band Wednesday is playing at Basement East on our last night in Nashville. We should go. And she was like, yeah, down for whatever. And we met up with my friend Ann Powers of NPR Music, the GOAT, one of the greatest music writers alive. And the three of us went and just kind of like hung out at the back of the venue. And we were all just kind of like, oh, like I felt like Carly's songwriting and her delivery and the band as a whole was sort of like translating the South that we had just driven through for the first time back to me in this way that it made that whole trip that we had just had sink in this like deeper way. It was kind of revelatory. Like me and Olivia were just kind of like, oh, that's what this all means, And I remember Carly even had like a monologue on stage about being on tour for most of the year and coming back to the South and feeling like, there's this prevailing goodness about the region that's often overlooked. And I had yet to really encounter that. And it was a really touching sort of perspective that Olivia and I talked about for the next few days. And I think it was like a year later when I met Carly out here in LA, and I really didn't know anything about the state of North Carolina, which is where Wednesday's from, but I had heard about this compound on the outskirts of Asheville, which is where the band had been living. It's called Haw Creek. It's very much a part of the band's lore at this point. It also is a casualty of redevelopment, so rest in peace. But I was super intrigued by this idea of like this like bucolic mountain town indie rock scene where people can just like live on a big piece of land and make their music. I was like, what is this place? And so, long story short, both some work assignments and just some general curiosity brought me out to Asheville a couple times last year. And when I went in September, you may guess where this is going. I texted Carly and I was like, oh, I'm going to be in Asheville. I'd love to see you. And she was like, oh, I actually just moved to Greensboro, which is like a few hours east. And I was like, oh, too bad. Catch you next time, you know? And then, of course, on my last day, I get caught in Hurricane Helene. And I'm stranded. I don't have any cell, internet, power, water, food, gas, etc. Actually, my tank was full. That was the one thing that I really had going for me. And it was a life experience. It was difficult and stressful. And by the time that I finally evacuated, kind of by the skin of my teeth, and honestly, thanks to help from my friends in the band Fust, I have to shout them out. They really helped me figure out the highways and how to get out of there. When I got back into cell service, the first text that popped up on my phone was Carly being like, oh my God, are you still in Nashville? Are you okay? Do you need anything? And that honestly kind of makes me want to cry a little bit. And guess what? On this show, I will bitch. That is well, it might not be a threat, but it's a promise. And, you know, I just kind of remembered that time that I saw her for the first time on stage, and I suddenly knew exactly what she was talking about the goodness of the South. And I, was just like, I know what she means. So yeah, shout out being cool. I'm really excited that Wednesday has a new album coming out. I think it's some of her best songs. Yeah. And she's also been doing some prose writing, which I got really excited about. And we talk about all this. We talk about the transition of MJ Lenderman out of the touring configuration. We talk about being an introvert in a touring rock band full of dudes. All these things. It was really nice to catch up with Carly when she was in LA recently. And you can hang out with us too. So stick around. I want to start off by asking you, what does your life look like right now? You're in between albums. There's been a huge change in your band, obviously. What does your actual life look like right now?
I'm kind of on a mission to keep my life feeling generally the same. I moved back to my hometown where I grew up. I live like 5 minutes walk from my high school right now. And I live in a place, luckily, where no one really gives a fuck about indie rock music. Yeah. And that's been really important to me.
Is that a big contrast from just hanging out around Asheville?
No, North Carolina is a pretty reliable place to remind yourself that it's not that important what you're doing in a way that comforts me. Like, it makes me feel free to write more vulnerably because I'm not thinking about all the people that are hearing it. Because I don't have people coming up and being like, oh, that thing you said, even though it's nice to hear that I help people, it really helped me, or that's really fucked up, or I'm sorry about that. I don't hear that at all. So I don't have to think about oh, when I'm writing, people are listening kind of thing. Yeah. And that's the only way I think I can keep myself writing, truthfully, in the long term. But yeah, so I rent a house by myself, which is cool because another thing about living in Greensboro, North Carolina, I can
do that
really comfortably do that there. And I've had time off for the first time since COVID. We were touring all of the time, which is a big reason why Jake ended up needing to take time off. I think there might be a misconception that he's taking time off because we broke up, but it's really because he's the busiest man on the face of the earth. His last album blew up in such our lives change completely every year because we're releasing albums every year, and his is a step ahead of where Wednesday's at right now. And watching it, you're just okay, he can't do it all anymore. We got to really prepare to let him do his thing. And yeah, I'm so thankful that he has that chance because MJ Lenderman makes my favorite music. So, but yeah, no, I'm chilling and writing, and another important thing about my music is I gotta experience. I write about my home, so it's like when I tour too much, I'm like, damn, really gonna be feel like I'm losing touch with my muse or whatever.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
but I've had like a lot of time to settle in, and I'm hanging out with a lot of my high school friends stayed in town, so I'm hanging out with them. It's been normal as hell. I've been really satisfied with my life, which is cool. Yeah, just kind of chilling. About to, I already feel the anxiety of the album cycle for September is when the next Wednesday album comes out. Building. And then my life is going to explode into a flurry of busyness and everything. So I'm mostly just really enjoying taking a walk.
A beat.
Yeah.
What's the next album called?
Bleeds. So together it's Wednesday Bleeds.
Cool.
Like if you like, we were trying to reference like, or the other ones that are like that with the name of the artist kind of feeds. Of course, Emily.
Yeah, of course.
The album title is a descriptor of the band.
Yeah,
is what I'm referencing.
Dude, I get it. Listening to the album, I think it's like your best yet. And it's when you were like, you wrote a little thing about recording the album, and you were just talking about how it's sort of like everything you're leading up to with the band. But I felt like it was like there's one foot that's in the future, and I can see where you're going. Like truly, like I feel like there's a couple songs on that where I'm like, this is like Carly stepping into Carly in a way that felt new to me, and so it started giving me just ideas about your sound in the future and like suggestions of places you could go that are like interesting twists and turns. And I think Elderberry Wine is...
That's the first single.
Yes. Dude. I was like, this might be my favorite Wednesday song.
Really?
Yeah.
But everybody gets along just fine, 'cause the champagne tastes like elderberry wine.
My mom and my Aunt Jerry listen to that like every time they get into the car.
I could see it being your mom and Cool Aunt's favorite Wednesday song.
Yeah. I'm really proud of that one, and the concept behind that one is I'm really proud of, because my sister works in Chinese medicine, herbalism, and acupuncture, and during the pandemic she was kind of like using herself as a test subject to figure out like immunity stuff, and she tried at one point she easily could have, I don't know why she didn't know this, and I love her to death. Mara, if you're listening, sorry I'm spilling your secret, but she consumed like raw elderberry, and it like induced vomiting like immediately, and so
that's her Benadryl.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I never made that comparison. The like overdose on Benadryl that my friend had earlier.
My friends all took Benadryl till they could see shit crawling up the walls.
Yeah, there is a puking through line in my life, I guess.
Experimenting with like with low stakes, but in a high quantity, potentially dangerous substances.
Yeah. And so I love the idea of taking that thing that could potentially that's a poison and making it into a like celebratory beverage, I guess.
It's kind of like all the other ones.
Yeah, true. Yeah, no. Even if it wasn't a poison in a raw form, it's still poison because it's alcohol.
I always wondered about you. Like, I get a sense that you're like an introvert, and I was just like, kind of just amazed at your like presence night after night to be yourself on stage, and also just like thinking about the fact you're on the road more days than not over the year, and you're with like a bunch of dudes. And I was like, man, it must take a lot of like inner reserve and like, I hate to say boundary setting because it sounds like therapy coded. But I just always like wondered that about your touring life, and you're touring with awesome dudes who you're really close with. It's a different thing, but still it feels like something that you might have to create space for?
Oh yeah, no, it's always a battle. It's still really hard. And I spend a lot of time alone, which sometimes gets in the way of feeling like, I mean, the group is bonded. Like, we've been hanging out for over 8 years. So we're good, but there's like some extracurricular like activities that I like physically can't or mentally can't take part in that feels bad. And then other times, yeah, like there's kind of the most visual thing I can describe of what I look like when I reach my limit, that my bandmates know of too, and they're very sensitive to. They're like, when I do this thing, like I've reached a place that I can't come back from for like a little bit, like I need to cool down. It's always when I'm trying to park the van, which I will insist on doing. Someone will offer, like, they can tell I'm getting there, and then I'll be like, no, I can fucking do it. Let me fucking do it. And then I'll try to do it. I can't do it because my brain is on fire and exploding because I need to be alone. And then I always just open the door and I walk away from the van, and I say, y'all figure it out. And they offered earlier, but I'm still pissed. So that is the most concrete example of like, and it's happened. I don't think it's happened recently, because once they told me I do that, I became aware enough to be like, okay,
Yeah,
I
they
need to
noticed
pull
your
back
pattern.
before. Yes, being told your pattern is very humbling.
Oh yeah.
And but having friends that will tell you your pattern is priceless.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and they know me, and by now they've understood, I think, but it's still a bummer when I can't partake in things physically. Like, there's times I can't celebrate our own achievements because I've been around all day, so I can't go out and have a drink at a bar to celebrate something, because I'm like, I won't be fun to be around. But yeah, so that part is hard. There's a lot of hard parts about being an introvert, doing what I do. The performance, though, is never. It's not a part of that, I think, because that's why I'm there. That's what I'm sacrificing or like for. So that always feels, I would say 99% of the time the shows are totally mentally fine. Even if I'm hurting, they still feel good and therapeutic.
Because that's not social. Like,
It's
that's a
not.
different battery pack. When do you like feel most like yourself? Whether it's on the road or just sort of in general in your life and has nothing to do with music?
I think this sounds like kind of sad, but like I feel the most like I'm getting the most out of life when I am alone in my like flow state creating. It's not the most, from the outside it looks not like very dull, but when I sit down and get into something, I think that's why I do, like, I come off as a workaholic, but I am like so happy when I'm doing my shit, whether it's writing or writing music, playing music, or sewing or visual, anything. But from the outside, it just looks like I'm sitting at my desk, so it's like not visually riveting, but that is what makes me feel like the life force is like
The Carly's Carlying.
Yes, exactly. And also just sitting. Okay, I have a thing where I like to if I'm on tour and we're all staying in the same place. We did this a lot when we were DIY touring and sleeping on floors and stuff. If I'm going in another room, can lay in the dark like I'm going to sleep and listen to my friends having a good time in the other room. For some reason, that makes me feel like the perfect, like I'm at the party, but I'm not having to be there physically. And I actually feel so myself when I let myself enjoy that aspect, because that is the introvert's paradise. Like, you're still there, participating in a way, but you don't have to do that thing that drains.
Yeah.
You know?
I just got chills.
Really?
And maybe a little bit of tears. I cried everything though. Because I'm thinking about like this one like piece, or maybe as a diary or something I wrote. But like, did you ever know the website Rookie?
Yeah.
Back in the day? That was like the first thing I did kind of like in media world. And please God, don't go look it up. But I wrote diary entries of like my life living in like, I lived in this DIY music venue in Oakland, and I was just like the little punk kid in this adult world going to art school. And I was talking about like this really sensory childhood memory of my parents having dinner parties and me being upstairs and like hearing the muffled voices and like having that exact moment of like there's people here and it's like it's warm and there's music, but I'm not having to be me. And I think it's like not just like an introvert's thing, but I think you're such an astute observer of your worlds and the landscape that you're a part of. And I think sort of getting to sort of like witness from the other side of the wall, like the muffled effect of that thing that really like captures your emotions. It's not what so-and-so said or the conversation that they were having, but just the feeling of someone else in the other room is like such an observer point of view. And I feel like you're just the kind of writer that's a keen observer, and that's why it's so powerful.
Yeah, that might be it. And I think being observant and like always searching for details is why a lot of people, like creative people, do get exhausted in social situations because they're constantly picking up on
scanning, dude. You're like an antenna ass bitch.
Yeah, for real. But it's funny because this exact concept is, and I didn't plan on incorporating this into like my music, I swear. But that the first song on the album, Reality TV Argument Bleeds. Through the floor when I go to sleep.
Oh
That's
my God.
literally, it's about knowing my mom is downstairs, like being my mom, watching her TV show as I go to sleep. It's so comforting.
That's like a true phenomenon of whatever type of brain you or I may have. Or it's like, I know people that are really introverted and easily drained by social stuff and et cetera, but like I'm constantly balancing my need to be alone and like have my own space and be the master of my own universe and like the loneliness of modernity in general, and sometimes I like am just like, man, should I have been in a band this whole time? Because it's these intense socialization, social bursts, and then you crawl into your cave, which is, it's a crazy way to live life, but sometimes for that kind of brain, I don't know, maybe it's...
And being forced in a social situation like that is actually great exercise.
Yeah.
Like, it pushes me out so much more than because I have to do it. I think I would never leave the house if I wasn't doing this job. Like, if I didn't have to, I would stay home all the time or like on my porch.
Birds are telling her the time, the sounds I've heard but never known. I can keep the window open.
I'll be right back with Carly Hartzman. Here's a bit of Mora from Wednesday's debut record, I Was Trying to Describe You to Someone. How has your conception of like Wednesday as a band and what you're doing with the band changed since now Jake is no longer touring?
I mean, we haven't even started practicing with the new guitarist, also named Jake. But so I'll have to see. I mean, the chemistry of the band is obviously going to change. But he's playing the same parts. It's like, and Jake's still going to be recording with us and hanging with us as a little bud. So honestly, like, I'm not letting it kind of make me think that way about it. I don't know. Like, if I do sense change, I think the exciting part of it is that there'll be new influences coming in because Jake Pugh, who is our fill-in guitarist, listens to very different music than Jake Lenderman. Jake Pugh makes like kind of avant-garde electronic weirdo shit music, but is also a shredder on guitar. And was in this band called Nihilist Davis that we at like people that lived at Haw Creek with us, Colin Miller and our friend Lewis and Jake and I and Gary. Gary wasn't watching videos of Nihilus Davis with us, but we would put on this video of Nihilus Davis, which was a 2-piece band, and Jake was the guitarist. And they were playing in a school gymnasium. The harshest avant-garde like noise set / performance art. And normally like that stuff might be like eye roll in the right sector, but to do that in North Carolina,
Sure, yeah.
to a North Carolina audience was like the fact that that is an artifact we kept going back to just to be like, that has a thing that is fascinating.
Yeah.
And that's always really interested me in Jake and the like Jake Pugh and the things he could bring as a musician, and just has never had the chance to, because he's worked in food service for a really long time and has been an amazing musician, food service, and at a synthesizer like
Technician.
yes. So I'm mostly just excited about that, having a new element and knowing that Jake Lenderman will always be there to collaborate when we want to too. So I'm mostly just excited to try that out. Wednesday is such a strong identity. I'm not worried about musical and sonic identity. I'm not really worried about the integrity of that at all. I'm mostly just like, that's always going to be that's the foundation we've created. Anything anyone else brings is just going to add to it. So I thought I would be really nervous, but I'm feeling good. Socially, it'll be odd because Jake Lenderman is a very specific type of personality that is nice to have, and you get used to having him around when you've toured for 6 years together, or whatever. I don't know how long we've been doing this anymore, honestly. But so yeah, it'll be sad in that sense, but I'm mostly just feeling ready for it and refreshed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's like this whole other element too. I always wondered where you're not the only like couple that ever toured, but now that you're entering like a new phase of your touring existence, and it's not also this parallel experience of like, that's such an intense way to be with a partner.
Yeah.
Like, take the band away, being on like, it's like band life.
Yeah.
Like, that's a really intense, like, specific way of being a partner with someone, and now you're gonna have a new experience of what like touring is. Is that something you've like processed yet?
No, and I won't know what that is like to not tour with a partner until I do it, which I haven't done yet.
Yeah.
So we'll see. But I think, to be like totally honest, like me and Jake were more of coworkers on tour than partners, because like I said, I didn't have much to give because I was always at my social brink. So a lot of what led to us needing to like take that to break up was because I think he needed someone who I needed things to, of course, but I think, to reference what we've been talking about, like, he needed someone who is capable of being there if you're going to be out for that much time of your life together. And I wasn't able to really be a partner on tour because I was just always, at my fucking limit socially. So how am I supposed to like take care of another person as they deserve?
Yeah. And you're not just at your limit socially, you're like pursuing the explosion of like your own art and your own project, and like maintaining and cultivating who you are in the public eye, which is like might be the most exhausting part of it all.
Yeah.
Like that's not just firing on all cylinders, that's like super firing in a way that like a lot of people won't ever experience, you know, and the regular demands of feeling like everyone's going to feel in a relationship, like they're not getting to be 100% of everything all the time, but like just that, it's just such a fascinating phenomenon that you guys went through, having your two really distinct songwriting identities become like so beloved so fast, and they're so individual, and so you're dealing with yeah, like the two most extreme, I guess, ends of the validation spectrum.
Yeah. Yeah. And I just feel I'm so lucky I shared that with him. And I feel like we both got something so special creating together and touring together like we did, even though it was hard. That I feel like that's why it was so kind of chill
Yeah.
when we did part ways, because we really wrung out so much wonderful shit. It was easy to be like, okay, this one part isn't really working anymore, but there's so much that was good, and it was kind of a peaceful. It was chaotic as any breakup is in its own way, but much of the process was just a peaceful, like, okay, I think we need to like let go of the belief that we can do all of this, and we're still creative partners, but the relationship had a really wonderful run, and then I was like, you know what, but I think we were like,
Yeah.
let's do something else.
Yeah. Sometimes if you're like a writer and you go through a breakup or something, your next step is to retreat into your own private world and process it with your art, and then maybe it comes out like in a book of essays or an album a year and a half later, and like that's when they interact with those feelings, but like you're making this stuff with that person at the same time, and like the catharsis schedule is a little like sped up.
For sure.
It's a little more accelerated.
Yeah, and I definitely still feel it. Like I still live in the house that we were staying in for a few months, like after we broke up. So it's around. Like I feel like the catharsis is not even done yet, even though it's like a year later.
Is it ever?
Yeah, it was definitely a speed run though, like you're saying, for the first part. Yeah.
Do you ever like worry about feeling overexposed or misunderstood?
I did, only when other people are putting my quotes into something, because I feel like the context makes me like, when I speak about my own stuff within the context, I always feel like I say what I need to say, but within a journalist context, I
sound
think
bites and pull quotes and shit.
I feel like it really easily, and this is like what everyone would say that is quoted in an article, like by their desire to tell a certain story that they were setting out to tell, they're going to warp it into whatever. And that feels really, really uncomfortable, because the whole point of my music is to say what I feel like I need.
Yeah.
I desperately need to communicate. And I feel like I do that really effectively with my music, and I feel very in control. But yeah, when other people are using my own words to tell whatever their thing they want to say is, that's when I feel really exposed and like misinterpreted.
Yeah. But not in your songs ever?
No. Yeah, I feel really comfortable like saying exactly what I mean.
That's cool. Just like prose writing and writing about stories from your youth and your past that show up in your songs, and like what a different palette that is to work from, because Wednesday is such a specific and self-fulfilling, self-defining sound. You know, like everyone knows what that is now, and it's so its own universe of language that you get to play with, and like your actual singing voice is so fucking crazy. Like it's nuts what you can do. Just the melodies on this new album are so beautiful and varied, and then there's also the first song that you've written that's just screaming front to back as well, you know. And then you have this whole palette of sounds to sort of create the world in which your story is going to live, which is different than when you're prose writing. And do you feel like when you're writing in this like other medium without sort of like the bed of sound to pull from, it feels like more or less vulnerable or something in any way?
I think the difference between like writing an essay trying to tell a story and writing a song trying to tell a story is, with an essay, in theory, you have unlimited space. You would want to whittle it down to like, you don't want to add stuff that is fluffy or anything. But with a song, it's so constrained. I feel like there's more pressure in a song, honestly, because you have to get, and especially the type of stories I'm telling that have a lot of detail and are very wordy. Like, I'm already putting so many words into the songs, like probably more than is technically catchy. I'm getting better at it, but that constraint makes it a little tougher because I have something very specific I want to manage to say, and I have a million words, and then having to take them out to fit this format is honestly what's a little harder. And then with trying to write like a story, just maybe like an essay or something, I could tell that, or even telling a story at a bar or something, to someone, like, as long as you have their attention, you can say as much as you want. So it's like, there's not that constraint in that way. So yeah, in a way, songs are more challenging as someone that, just has many, many words to say.
You're saying getting better at it. I'm like, no, you don't need to improve. That's what makes it special.
I mean, I like getting better at like a instrument. Like it's just like a practice that
like
becomes more, not even easier or better, but like more inherent. Like it becomes more natural to write in that format.
Do you feel like at this point, like you're, about to, or at a different later point in this year, like head back out to the crazy on the road life and the album cycle of it all? But like, do you feel like at this point in your late 20s, you're able to live the life that you want as an artist, or are there things in the way of what that vision is for you?
No, I don't think there's anything in the way. I prioritize my life as an artist over anything. My social life, my I prioritized my life as an artist when I was in college, and I should have been focusing on class, like in high school when I should have been focusing on class, even though I didn't really have a specific aim. But so that's always, I'll be comfortable as an artist because I'm willing to sacrifice other shit to make that process more comfortable. Like when I was working and in school and trying to write music wasn't the thing that was gonna take a backseat ever. But ideally, the only thing I could imagine, I'm already pretty happy. The only thing my goal that I think could make myself more comfortable with the environment in which I'm trying to make art is if I could buy a house. I'm renting right now, and I would like to have a yard that I plant stuff in, and put up my workspace as a permanent zone instead of a zone in the rental space. That's like literally the only thing I could think of. Because I don't like feeling like the space is not my own. Like I love the idea. This is kind of a dirty thought, but I love the idea of owning a little slice of earth, and that is like, rock, like, cause you're not only having a house, you're having that little piece of land. So having that, I'm just imagining it as like a little square that goes down to the core of the earth, like, and so like that is my slice of this world. I like think that the fact that we like so many people our age can't afford to own a home is so, and just have a slice of earth to call their own. I think if people had that, it would be, there's something about that I just think is really, it makes me sad that more people don't get that. And it's easier when you live in a place that's a little more affordable, like where I'm living. Like it's more reasonable to think that's something I'm going to be able to do soon. But not everyone even wants that. So maybe I'm just assuming that.
Well, it's like, it's a totally different equation based on where you are in life and the country. Like here it's a no-go, and like even my friends that have been able to buy houses on their own, I feel like are just kind of drowning in the material reality of how much more responsibility, financial and otherwise. But when
forget about that.
It's everyone I know, their mortgage is more expensive than their rent was. Yeah. In California.
Yeah.
But like when I went to Asheville, like, don't fucking hate me. Don't worry. I'm not coming. I'm also not from California, so don't extra hate me. I was telling my aunt about this. He's from Kansas. I was like born in Kansas, and she was like, or Kansas City. And I was like, yeah, really love North Carolina. Great vibe. I went and saw some houses. She was like, just tell people you're from Kansas. You don't even have to say you live in LA.
Yeah.
But, it's like, I was so like inspired is an understatement. Just like spending some time in Durham with like
Mhm.
the Fust guys and just seeing like Avery and Justin bought houses next
Mhm.
door to each other and shared
Yeah.
driveway, and their houses are so nice and
Yeah.
sweet. And I was like, you decorated this yourself? And he told me what his mortgage payment was, and I just like reflexively flipped him off with both hands because I was like,
Yeah.
how is this real? And I honestly kind of had a little bit of that feeling when I first was like told about Hawk Creek, and
Mhm.
my first reactionary thought was like, that can still happen.
Mhm.
And of course, that dream has like come and gone.
But
Yeah,
maybe
but
it's possible elsewhere. I think that's what is so, it bums me out that still so many people, I'm in LA, so I don't, right now recording this with you, so I don't want to shit on LA, but
Dude,
like,
please.
like,
This is a complicated feelings about LA safe space.
yeah, yeah, that's what a lot of people have been telling me anytime I
Yeah.
bring this up. But I think it's weird and outdated that so many bands are still moving to cities to do
yeah.
well because, and this is genuine like advice for anyone wanting to be in a band, like there is more worth than you would think
Mhm.
on a grander scale of staying in your local scene and trying to be the best band from there.
Yeah.
Because when people tour through, you're probably going to open for them.
Right.
And then it'll more naturally create that space. And if you live somewhere like North Carolina, you have cheap practice space, probably cheaper, like living. You have more time to write, and you're contributing to your local scene. And thus, your music will have a sense of regionalism.
Right.
People will identify with it, and love it in your region and outward because it has a sense of self.
Mhm.
And that's so like a thing that is, it's worth a lot. And so like, I don't know, like there is a chance if you really try.
Yeah.
And honestly, you'll do better if you do it, like commit to like a town that maybe isn't the most industry laden place, especially if you're from there or near where you are from, like a town near your hometown that has a little bit of a scene you can play a show and people will
Yeah.
go kind of thing. There is a lot you can do with that. And I think it is better for the culture or like in DIY culture in general.
It is.
I think I see it more and more, but I'm still surprised when I'm hearing people are moving to like bigger cities to try to make it. Cause I'm like,
As
you're
bands,
making it harder for yourself. Why are you like, be honest if you want the social life.
Right.
That's okay too. But it genuinely, if you want a career that will last longer
That
and
you can
be more
sustain.
genuine and sustain yourself.
Even at the rate where it's like if you're a successful indie artist, like Carly Hartzman, if successful indie band Wednesday, still really wanting to buy a house. Like be realistic about like the conditions that we're all living in. And I think too, just like think about your whole ass life. And I am so like West Coast entrenched because I just spent almost all of my life here, like a little bit in the Midwest. But I grew up in Seattle, and so I feel like growing up in Seattle in like, you know, being a part of the music scene from like 2006 to 2017 was such an interesting time because that's the time when Seattle became like a major metropolitan city, you know, on a where before it was this mix of like big city and small local cheap punk DIY scene. And so I grew up with that and then sort of like watched it become less possible as a way of life. And so what I tell people, because there's so many Seattle people that ended up down here in LA, is like half of Seattle of my generation moved down here because it became like your options dwindled. And it was like, if your rent is going to be $400 more a month in LA, but you have all these other career options to be a creative person, that's where you go. But sort of that opting out of the career part, let's build a community space or run a small label while I work in service. Like that didn't cut it anymore. And that kind of is like the condition of the whole West Coast.
Yeah. I
And
guess
so
that is different over here.
it's so different. And another thing that it's just, this is going to be so no shit Sherlock to anyone that tours, but I don't know why this never sunk in, was like the West Coast is like 4 major cities 3 to 7 hours away from one another.
Mhm.
And like the East Coast and the South are like all these small networks and chains of like
Mhm.
mid-sized communities. And it's such a different ball game,
Mhm.
like building a community in a network. And it makes me sad for us out here sometimes. I'm just like,
Yeah.
it's sort of like when people talk about, like being a newer band or where the music scenes are, how to start what it felt like was lost or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah, I mean, there is so many legendary music scenes out here, though. Like, I don't think that y'all are really like suffering.
Dude,
a
I
lack
do.
from a lack. You do? Well, it's just
Yes.
different, I think. But I mean, someone I think that is doing this, or someone that I think is kind of the model that is like, I respect is, I think, and I don't know if this is still the case, maybe not. I know when Enumclaw started, they were
Oh,
like
yeah.
Tacoma ride or die
Yeah.
people. And there's something about that is so cool to me. Like,
Mhm.
being a representative of where you're from is so, it makes your sense of self like really strong, and your writing will benefit from it too. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not on the West Coast. Like, this is the 4th time I've ever been to LA. I think.
Really? Holy shit.
And I've done full US tours like several times.
Wow.
So yeah, I won't lie that it's hard to get out here and drive here and
I
spend any
will-
kind of real time here.
The funny part about bringing up Enumclaw is like Aramis is like a mutual friend
Mhm.
of ours and like one of my favorite people on earth. And like we became friends too because I saw what they were doing and I was like, your vibe is fucking sick. And
Mhm.
our like joke that I started, but I think he agrees, is that I'm like, we're the only two like ambitious fools that came out of the Pacific Northwest of like our age group, and that's why we're here. But you know, they moved to LA
Yeah.
and they're about to break up.
Oh, really? Oh, fuck.
It's like case in point.
Yeah.
No, but
Damn.
they're all like really talented, and this I felt like the spirit that they were coming out of that that time and place was so unique and special. And like my favorite thing about the formation of that band was like Aramis was in the underground hip hop world and just sort of like discovered guitar music in the pandemic and was like, this is sick. Let's try this out. And so is coming with this totally different like entry into music, band, guitar, rock music life than like someone like you or I, where it's like, yeah, I decided I was alternative in 6th grade and it was all over from there.
Yeah, my life was centered around a completely different thing once I listened to X.
Yeah, once I figured out Nirvana, dude, it was fucking over.
Also, just to add the last thought to this regionalism kick thing I'm on, making music in a city that doesn't put the pressure of industry, anything on you is also worth doing. Because when I first started, I didn't know that you could do things that people know you can do in LA or New York as far as like label. Like, I didn't know any music labels when I started. And going in with that approach, just trying to make the best music you can make, I just highly suggest. That's the last thing I'll say about it.
It's different too. Like, it's a different experience going to shows here than even like Seattle. But like when you're at a show in LA and it's that phenomenon where it's like a buzzy artist and there's like the outer like crescent ring at the back of the crowd is always like the same like 8 labels. And you know, they're all just like trying to get in there. And I'm like, that is something that you don't, like, I just like feel it as an audience member. If I didn't know who these people were, I probably wouldn't.
That's the cool
But
thing.
something
Like, music sounds different and better when you don't know about the industry that runs behind it. If I'm being honest, because I
music
started,
does sound better.
I made music I started making music 8 years ago, but I was a music listener my whole life. And there was something really nice about knowing none of the back end and the inner workings of this industry. Just made shit easier to enjoy. I wasn't paying attention to press cycles.
Yeah.
And that's also good to know because, like, press cycles really can make artists feel bad sometimes, but I guarantee, like, 75% of your audience or more hasn't seen anything from the press cycle. They're just listening to the music because it came up on YouTube or something.
Right.
Like,
especially at this point. I think, like,
and that should be comforting to you.
Exactly. It's like, I think there's different types of people. Like, I've had this discussion with my best friend where I'm like, I want to watch every music documentary and I want to read every book that's like the stories behind the songs and the memoirs. And she was like, I don't want to know that. Like that like kind of like corrupts the relationship I have with the music. And I think people just have different like levels of engaging more deeply with the thing that they're interested in. And I'm like a scavenger and a like love to puzzle it out and like investigate, you know? Which, you know, gets me into trouble in my personal life, but whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I like to know biographies of people and aspects of their life, the people that are making the music, but I guess I mean the drama.
Yeah, the industry drama.
Yeah, that's, I don't know.
The signing battle.
Yeah, that kind of shit. Knowing that stuff makes it feel dark and unenjoyable. But yeah, knowing like encyclopedic knowledge is kind of fun for me too. Yeah.
Kind of on that tip, like what is your dream vision of like aging as a woman in music? Like what is like your dream place to be in your career when you're like 38 or 50 and beyond?
I'm kind of cool with whatever as long as I'm still taking like deadly serious. That's like the one thing I'm kind of afraid of like losing. Like I don't want anyone to ever pity me as an artist, which I feel like is really prominent for aging women who are like quote unquote or I should say air quotes like like trying to
stay relevant.
Yeah, trying to stay relevant. Or something like I just want whatever I make to not have the air like as I get older to not have the air of a like desperately trying to cling on to whatever it is that like I want people to care about the music as long as I'm making it and not have it be the fact that I'm getting older be distractions, the distracting factor.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah.
That's so much more of a thing with women as like I don't know. And then eventually I'd like to be at home more because I want to have a kid, I think. So I would like to tour as long as I can, but in smaller chunks eventually. Right now I'm having to tour like for months out of the year. I would like to whittle that down to like 2 months out of the year instead of 6, 7, 8.
Yeah.
And I want to, hopefully I still challenge myself to like do things I can still like fail at because I feel really comfortable in songwriting and writing Wednesday songs. So I want to try a few things that put me out of my comfort zone. But yeah, mostly just want to stay in a place with integrity.
Yeah.
As long as I can. I don't really know what that means yet, but that's the feeling I have in the back of my mind.
Just a quick break. Here's a bit of How Can You Live If You Can't Love? How Can You If You Do? From Twin Plagues.
Life is so familiar that it feels like most of mine. A heart that's kept so close to me gets closer all the time. Habit of you laughing, the way it feels so near. Show me that I know your voice and
Okay, one of my favorite things of like magazines of yore, and you know, I subscribe to Substacks that are like advice columns, and I just love like the teen magazine format of like at the back of the book on the last page.
Yeah.
Like that's just the
like that
shit.
too.
It's missing from media. So I asked a few people to submit some advice questions. I have one that I did ask someone who admires you a lot. She said, when you're in a slump, artistic or otherwise, how do you pull yourself out of it?
I think the crucial thing to remember is that your creative energy isn't slumps and prominent moments. It's like a cycle And that can be very comforting. So anytime you're down, you're not gonna, like, naturally that happens like over and over again. And you're gonna come back up. And if you convince yourself that you're stuck, you're gonna stay stuck. So just let it pass through and know that you're gonna wake up a few days later or however long it takes, and get that feeling again that you can make something. It's like it happens. Like, and if you take the pressure off yourself, it'll be a lot easier to just get into the space of like kind of lightness mentality that it takes to create something. Yeah, the less hard on yourself you are about it, the easier it will be to start.
Yeah. That's probably what I would say as someone who went through a few like devastating event related depression inducing stuff. Like it was like after like both the hurricane and the fires and then some other crazy shit in between, the trip I was on was everything I used to do to feel like myself again or like to reignite my creativity or whatever suddenly felt like a threat, because normally that's like I'm gonna go on some crazy road trip by myself and like unplug and like do something stupid, not like dangerous but just stupid, or I'll go camping. And then I was thinking about like, oh, I want to go camping at my favorite spot in the forest, but I'm gonna have to like ration my water and my food and my batteries, and that gave me I was like, I can't do that after this. And I just, part of it was time. And part of it was, I think like once I accepted that, I was like, I don't know, maybe I have changed fundamentally and I'm going to need to develop all new things. Once I was comfortable with that idea that I might have to change, then suddenly the old things started working again. So it's like I let them go, but once they realized they were free, they were like, no, we'll stay.
Yeah. I mean, and your brain is always naturally going to it's doing everything it can to get you back to feeling normal. So even if something
good point.
Like outside of yourself happens and it feels like it's going to be forever, like your brain wants you to be able to get back to your comfort zone. So it creates like it heals itself in a funny way. And the easier you are on yourself about it, the easier it'll be.
Yeah, exactly. Cool. Carly, thanks for coming on Music Person and being the very first music person. I couldn't have thought of a better music person to be the first music person.
Yeah, it's fun.
You're the best. That was my interview with Carly Hartzman. This week, I'm listening to Walker Ryder. They're a band from Minneapolis, and their new album is called Fair. And thank you for listening to Music Person. I'm your host, Dylan Tupper Rupert. This episode was edited by Jake Bowman. My theme song is by Nicole Lawrence and Ben Allman. And since this is our first episode, I'd love to give some special thanks to people that helped get this show off the ground. Thank you to John Strom, Mukta Mohan, Olivia B., Joe Riedel, Ifra Ahmed, and Aramis Johnson. Thanks also to Gold Digger Sound, King Size Sound Labs, as well as North Figueroa Studios. And of course, at Talkhouse, I'd like to thank Ian Wheeler, who invited me into the Talkhouse, and Keenan Cush for the technical support. Music Person was created and produced by me, Dylan Tupper Rupert, and Talkhouse. It's distributed and monetized by Talkhouse as part of the Talkhouse network. Please subscribe to the show. I'm begging you. And follow me on Instagram at Music Person Podcast, or sign up for free on Patreon at patreon.com/musicperson.